Your latest coup is winning the Best Musical Performance on MTV Movie Awards. Mary Loves Tim A wants to know, how do you feel about winning the award for Uncle Fucker? Trey?
I just like going to the MTV. The MTV Movie Awards were so much cooler to go to than the Academy Awards, just because it was so much more entertaining, and there were just way cooler people there. And the Academy Awards were just about Hollywood sort of standing up and patting themselves on the back, and the MTV Awards were about entertainment, which is what it should be.
And the fans voted on it.
Yeah,
which
it was all
very.
It was like not serious and all just kind of tongue in cheek, and it didn't take itself that seriously, and that's why it was cool. Whereas the Academy Awards just tried to turn it into this, royalty, queens and kings of the world, and it's much cooler to have an MTV award from something that's cool like that. So.
You want to ask something?
Yeah, I'll just ask them. Speaking of music, there's a little controversy that you guys can settle for the fans. James Hetfield from Metallica has been reported in various places, including an online Metallica e-zine, that he did the vocals for the Hell Isn't Good number in bigger, longer, and cut. Despite the fact that the film credits clearly say DVDA did it, what's the deal? Is it his vocals or a damn good impersonation? Who's playing the instrument?
Well,
DVDA is playing instruments.
Yeah, and James Hetfield did do that. They reported on Metallica's website.
Oh.
They did, yeah, but it's like...
Yeah, for some reason, James was like, I want to do it, and he's like, well, don't put my name on it.
Yeah, he didn't want to be credited, but we got a hold of him through Les Claypool, who's friends of all the guys in Metallica.
And I think it's just that typical thing of, like, cause we definitely know how it is, like, as soon as he's on there in credits, then all of a sudden everyone wants him to do that in other movies. Who he said no, he's just said before, like, I just don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
So suddenly, if he did, it looks weird, but it wasn't.
Okay. Speaking of DVDA, will we ever see an album of your work through the past few years, or perhaps new material? Inquires Willie Westwood.
We keep writing new material and playing it for 200 people at a time. Yeah. We keep writing new songs, but
we'd love to do an album. We've always talked about it. It's just a matter of time. Unfortunately, we have a TV show and soon another.
Because what's cool, we've done so many songs and we've played out enough that like we're starting to know what our really good songs are, and if we did that a few more times, we played out for another 6 months, and we would have it down to like a great album's worth of songs.
You guys an EP?
Do you guys have anything recorded though? Like
just jam sessions.
Yeah, no, we've never recorded.
Everything we've recorded is because we need it for the movie or for Timmy or whatever.
Yeah.
The Mole was a great new character from Blue. Steve asked, "Who did the voice for him?"
That was me.
Created the voice for the Mole.
Okay.
And it was pretty funny because it got to the point where Paramount was like, these voices just all sound like Trey. Because it was like I did Gregory and did Mole. And they're like, the little friend, it's just obviously Trey. I was like, well, that's just part of what South Park is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like people, and especially now, it's so funny because now Matt and I have just so run out of voices that we can do.
Just
so
keep recycling.
We do people, and they all just sound the same. And it's like, well, that sounds like Stan's dad, and that's just it. And it's just like, that's the beauty of it. And actually, it was Mike Judge who first pointed it out. He's like, that's what I think is cool about it. So
it makes it look like it's just two guys putting on a puppet show.
Yeah.
But you guys just brought Dean in to do like a new voice, right?
Yeah, because sometimes, it really is. It's more about a creative dynamic than it is. It's just like you bring Dean in, and he's going to bring something to it that we wouldn't.
And also, we always get people to. A lot of times, we get guest people when we want it to be a normal, straight, guy.
Just because our normal straight guys have been so overused.
Yeah, we can't just do the voice. No affectation, no cartoon. It's just a normal voice, and our normal voices are all over the show, so we can't. So kind of when we need a normal guy, we do.
Okay. Lots of folks are wondering about the new character that everybody seems to fall in love with, the wheelchair-bound Timmy. How do you guys get the idea for him? Do you plan on making him a main character as the fifth boy of the group?
Not really a fifth.
He's been in almost every. The thing is that Timmy started as just a joke. I was writing the thing about in the Tooth Fairy script. I was writing, Matt and Nancy had written this thing where Timmy's getting his tooth pulled out, and Kenny's getting his tooth pulled out, and they're trying to something. And so I was like, well, we can make this funnier. Let's make it. There's a handicapped kid in a wheelchair, and that's who's trying to pull his tooth out. And so we just...
And it was just supposed to be a one-off.
Yeah, it was just going to be that sketch. It wasn't going to be anything. And it was really funny because Comedy Central was so against it. And they're like, this, handicapped kid, no, don't do it. And we're like, oh, come on, it's one scene. It's no big deal.
Well, I know, but the kid's not like we expert thing handicapped kid.
Yeah, he's stoked to be Timmy, or whatever. And so we argue with him, and they finally let us do it. And then just in that episode, everyone's like, Timmy. Everyone's like so stoked on Timmy.
And we were so. I mean, even before it aired, though, we were like, oh, we want to put Timmy in more.
So like the 2 episodes later, we did the Timmy show and did a whole show about him. And since then, he's made an appearance in almost every show.
Okay. Timmy was advertised to appear in, but was cut out of the recent Quintuplets 2000 episode. That episode obviously went through major revisions to keep up with the fast-paced breaking news of the Alien Gonzalez development.
Right.
The Baffle. That took place over Easter weekend. It ended up being quite a different episode from what it originally was meant to be.
Yeah.
What Mookie Stinks would like to know is, which episode besides Quin's 2000 went through the most revisions? Which one started with one concept but ended up being something completely different by the time you had finished the production of it?
So many.
Almost every single one of them.
Most shows go through. I mean, Elion, like, for us, that Elion episode, for us in this building, work on the show, was it barely felt any different than any other episode.
Yeah.
In fact, we didn't do anything to, like, we just thought it'd be cool, you know what I mean? But we do shows like that all the time where we're doing it that week. And then we didn't even think that it was anything that big a deal. We stuck it out, and then that was like completely, all the press that came from that episode was completely not engineered. That was really reporters watching it and going, holy shit, and making the phone call. That was not Comedy Central going out and getting press for us. I mean, we didn't think anything different because we do I'd say almost every show.
Every show, if people saw, and actually Frank, our producer, always says, if people could see the show as it exists the Friday before it airs compared to Tuesday before it airs,
Sunday before it airs.
It is an absolutely different show, and it's usually not very funny. It's like everything happens sort of over the weekend, and in these.
It's like the script being changed over the weekend, or is the animation also?
Oh yeah, the animation.
It's all redone.
And then we sit down like on Sunday night and watch it and go, oh, this is really funny. Let's do that again, or make this funnier, or
cut this whole scene out. Nothing. This doesn't work.
This is stupid. Cut this out. Yeah. And then actually, the shows we make the most changes to and revisions to are the best shows. Generally.
And I actually, one funny thing, it wasn't probably another thing along the most revisions line was we had a last year's Halloween episode with Korn.
Mm-hmm.
Frank said that if we put together all the footage that we actually animated for that show, it would have been over 70 minutes.
Wow.
That's how much got cut out before.
We did a lot of that show.
Okay.
That's funny.
In addition to South Park and your music, you've done other projects such as your movies. A few folks have asked questions about these movies. Namely, are there any plans on special edition DVDs of Blue, Orgasmo, and Cannibal with commentary and special features?
Well, Cannibal, they did release a DVD. Trauma just released a DVD of Cannibal.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty funny because we did a director's thing over it, and we said at the beginning we had these bottles of scotch, and we said, okay, we're going to do this, but we're going to drink scotch while we watch it.
And we had me and Trey, and we had Andy Kemmler and Dean Bahari, Jason McHugh, and Andy Kemmler, the people we know in town who were in that movie.
Yeah, and so we're all sitting there, and we all had microphones, and we're all just getting drunk, and you can hear us getting drunker and drunker and drunker. And then the last 15 minutes of the movie, we're not even talking about the movie anymore. We're just talking about chicks and stuff. And we're just completely wasted. It's pretty sweet, actually.
But they asked us to do as Trey or both of us or something, I can't remember, to do a director's commentary for the South Park movie DVD. But it was like a month after we finished, and we were like, fuck that, fuck those director's things. They're so fucking.
It's like, let the movie be the movie.
The movie
for at least a couple years.
Yeah, but, I mean, now with a little distance down, it's like, oh, maybe that would be fun. But at the time, we were like, oh my god, I don't want to talk one more second about that movie,
But it's pretty funny too because the Packer one, we hadn't seen Cannibal in so long.
Yeah, that was.
That we're all sitting there and we're like, this movie's sweet. And we're all just laughing and shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe someday.
Actually, speaking of Cannibal the musical, Bombay Sapphire wants to know: do Trey Parker and Juan Schwartz peacefully coexist, or is there a point where Trey Parker ends and Juan Schwartz begins?
No. Unfortunately, it's not that cool. It really is just, I didn't want, at the beginning of Cannibal, I didn't want it to say, a Trey Parker film starring Trey Parker, because I thought that would give, you see that in a movie and you immediately have something against it. I do anyway, and it's just like, oh, okay, fuck this, immediately.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want it to, I don't want it to look like the director is also the star. I think you have a strike against you when you start off there.
For Eric Hartman, Daniel Turner queries, you did a show telling us who his father was, but that ended up raising another interesting question. If Cartman's mom is really his dad, then who is really his mom? Are we ever going to find out?
Oh,
we
that's
decided
ridiculous.
never to touch that subject ever again. It's
Yeah.
just stuff too many people.
Yeah, I mean that was the whole funny thing we thought about that payoff. Is that here you go, here's the payoff, but of course in that payoff you bring up just another question, and we never answered that. You know what I mean? So now we don't really care. That's the whole point. Who the fuck cares who Cartman's dad is? You know what I mean? It's like that was what's so funny about the whole thing is we thought that would be a funny cliffhanger in that no one would care.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it's like, oh, who spilled the milk or who shut the door or just something stupid. Because it's whoever we just say it.
But we didn't realize how real Cartman was to people, you know, because he wasn't that real to us until, and now I could even see, you know, I'd be pissed off probably because he is real, you know, but
to us,
but I mean, to me, his mother is his mother because that's what's funny about South Park is that South Park is like a sitcom version of a Monty Python show, whereas the most fucked up, bizarre shit can happen, but every week it all just kind of resets.
Yeah.
And the perfect example of that being Kenny, but really it's all that way. It's like the most bizarre, but the next week you're right back where he started, and everything just resets, and that's, you know, that's just part of what South Park is that makes it different.
If it's like that, then do you think they'll ever age really then?
No, I mean we're talking about next season they're going to start going to fourth grade.
Oh, so they will
So they will age,
but they won't look at
that
it later.
I mean, and you know, because there's several ways to think about it.
We should have them go to college, and they're totally old all of a sudden.
But we've talked about, you know, it's been 55 episodes, so we're like, well, is that 55 days? Is it 55 weeks? You know,
It's definitely around 4 years.
55 hours.
Ghislaine Desliers asks, I want to know why all the Canadians in South Park have such weird heads, because I'm a Canadian, and I'm sure that a lot of Canadian South Park fans would also like to know why we must have those faces. So what's the deal with the flapping heads and beady eyes?
Go look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's what you look like to us. Actually, it started because Terrence and Phillip were characters first, and they weren't necessarily Canadian. And then later on, we were like, they're Canadian.
But the idea was Terrence and Phillip was even worse animation than South Park.
Yeah.
Because Terrence and Phillip was our answer to when the show first came out, and everyone was saying, South Park is horrible animation and it's nothing but fart jokes. And we were like, no. Here's horrible animation and nothing but fart jokes, right? And that's what Terrence and Phillip was our answer to that. And then it sort of grew, and at that time we thought Terrence and Phillip were probably like British or something, and then they just became Canadian out of necessity.
Yeah,
and then we decided all Canadians looked like that, and that was sweet.
But
Because
we love the idea that different characters in South Park don't look any different race. Race doesn't matter, only nationality. So like a black American essentially looks the same as a white American, but just different skin color. But a black Canadian looks like a white Canadian, but an African looks totally different.
Yeah. Okay.
And like a Chinese American looks like everybody else in South Park with a different skin tone. But Chinese looks like a different thing.
Yeah. Full Cult's Horror Ponders. I find your work to be brilliant and on-target cultural criticism. Is this done deliberately during the writing process? How do you reconcile the widespread intellectual deconstruction of your work at universities, in journals, etc., with your artistic aesthetic of just shooting off the top of your head? Do you guys feel that some folks read too deeply into your work?
I don't think you can do whatever you want, but I think we can't. I mean, and there's a couple times where we caught ourselves going, you know, we're getting too preachy, and like, you know, and I think that as soon as, and actually people gave us the advice too of like, you guys are making great social commentary because you're not really thinking about it. And as soon as you do start thinking about it, as you hey, let's try to say something about, you know what, and I can say too, almost every time that we've said, let's try to say this and let's try to do this, the show's not been that good.
Yeah, fuck it up.
Because
it's more the point comes out of the story organically, out of the story you're trying to tell.
But as soon as you try to make a point, it's like you just see a 20-minute thing where it's like, okay, I get it, you know, and like we focus on that, not on the jokes, and not on what's the pure thing about it. So we've learned to really let that come out of a natural place and not try.
So you never like start off, okay, we're going to try and say this.
We have, and I'm saying we've done it a couple times, and both shows weren't very good. So
and then but then like on the other hand, that's true. Then like when the South Park movie came out, it was like so many critics were like surprised, like the South Park movie has a point, and we were like,
almost every show it has.
It has a point. Like sometimes we don't mean to make it, or it's more like an underhanded.
But it's
point.
more like it's not so much that. It's that like even with the South Park movie, we were sort of halfway through making the film. We were like, wow, you know, this movie really says this, and it really talks about this. Let's heighten that.
Right.
And that's great. That all works. But as soon as you try to start from a place of, let's say this, rather than, you know what would be funny would be if they did this. You know,
Let's say you know, whatever is bad. Racism is bad. Let's make a big, instead of like coming up with a fucked up, funny situation that has to do with everyone's, all sides emotionally of that issue. You know, instead of like, we want this character to say this at the end, how do we get there? Is a shitty way to do a show.
Along the same general theme, WW Dude asks, I know that you must have had your thoughts about the limits of satire, but have you ever truly regretted some of the material you put out there? Or does the, if something exists, make fun of it approach always apply, no matter what?
Yeah, I would never regret it.
I don't think we've ever. We're all cut up about it, but.
I mean, honestly, the only thing I remember being like, where we questioned ourselves, and we only did for a while, they were like, oh, fuck it, that was sweet, was when we did the cliffhanger.
Yeah. Oh, so you use that show?
We were really like, wow, we really thought everyone would think this was funny, and we were wrong. And it was sort of the, it was more of the Andy Kaufman thing, you know, it was just like doing, you know, he so thought that people would so get the joke, and they didn't, and it really bummed him out, you know what I mean? It's like,
audience doesn't like having a joke made on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's a Hitchcock quote about that. It's like, because I mean, of course, he fucked with people all the time, but he always answered it in a way where you're like, okay, like you fucked with me for a reason, and that's why that movie. You said that movie, very, very bad things. Wait, not very bad things. The one with the two chicks in it, and they get Denise Richards is in it, and Matt.
Oh, the
Dillon.
Wild Things.
Wild Things. Did you see that movie?
Parts of it.
Did you see that movie? It's fucking terrible because it is that the whole time. Where every time something happens, it's like, oh wait, the cop's in with that guy, and then you're like, oh okay, you kind of fooled me there. And it's like, no, but wait, they're in with this, and it's that like 18 times in a row. And by the end, you're like, you know, you just can't do that to me anymore, you know.
A few curious fans have some questions about your deal with Shockwave.com. What is the status with the shorts that are to be featured? Are there reports of Shockwave having second thoughts about them for explicit content? True?
Yep.
Well, no, it's just like, well, in answer to your question, we are working with Shockwave.
Yeah. Actually, no, yes.
Yeah, they are, and but it's nothing to be feared because the stuff. Actually, we're really stoked on it. What we're doing, it's probably not going to be out for a couple more months. And Shockwave they're starting to have second thoughts about it, but it doesn't matter because either way, it's going to get out. So, and you know what? Like we haven't been fucking through that before.
Yeah,
it's like I feel, you know, the
I think we
get pissed off. I hope they read this, but if they think that they're like, our experience just makes. I mean, we follow content with Comedy Central, with Sony, with Paramount, with MPAA, and it's like Shockwave isn't going to do anything to us. You know what I mean? So they might as well just learn to deal with it or not. So they're going to get fucked.
A few weeks back, you guys had a big PR announcement about bringing 3 more years of South Park to Comedy Central, as well as a new live action series. Jonathan M. wants to know, what is the premise of your new series? What will your position there be, and do you have any ideas who you would like to cast?
You, Jonathan.
Everyone wants to know.
We want you to be in our new series, buddy.
That's what everyone wants to know. We're not telling anyone about the new show, except that
We'd like to know about it too.
it's something that we came up with about a year ago. I guess it wasn't.
No, not figured out.
But we so loved the idea that we suddenly got really excited and went all around town and pitched it. Actually, everyone we pitched it to really liked it too. And then we just finally decided that, you know what, like we realized how lucky we were to be at Comedy Central and have the kind of creative freedom. So we're like, and we had lots of friends saying, you guys don't go network. You know, you will not survive network. You know, it's kind of like, don't go to Cambodia, you won't survive. And so it was like, okay, fuck it.
Axilla has a question about the Brannick theme, played at the end of each South Park episode. It is the same melody as the opening number in Cannibal the Musical, Spadoinkle Day. What is the story there? Did Trey become obsessed with Brannick in college, which somehow led to them being a sponsor of South Park? What is the South Park Brannick relationship?
Brannick is so out of how they couldn't sponsor us for shit.
What? Brannick's out of business. Been out of business.
It was really, you know what? It originally came from in the pilot episode. Comedy Central was like, okay, you know, we've got our Comedy Central logo now. You guys should have your company's logo. And we're like, we don't have a fucking company logo. We didn't have any money to make one or anything. So we're like, I remember that old fucking airline Granite. Like,
no, we're like, because we thought it'd be sweet to have. It all came because it came from like also I remember thinking about it in terms of a movie where you're sitting there. It's like Paramount Pictures and Braniff Airlines present. And how fucked up that would be, you know? And it's like. And then we decided to make it Braniff, so we stole it.
We got some stock footage of a Braniff commercial, and it's so illegal. It's so illegal.
It's not. I mean, it's like you can't fucking do that.
But
We've been doing it for 3 years. From the first episode, our lawyer's been like, "You guys got to change. We're going to change it. Next show."
No, they did call Braniff.
Yeah, did they
lawyers contacted our lawyer and basically said, "Look, you know this is legal." Our lawyer's like, "Yeah, fuck, we didn't know about it." And Braniff was like, "Well, if it never does, if you never do anything more with it, if it just is the end of every show, we won't do anything. But don't ever try to actually say your brand fairly. Don't ever put it on the movie. Don't if this is the only place it ever lives is this one little joke, then that's fine."
So they're cool with it then.
They're not. Braniff is cool with it?
With the way it is right now.
They've kind of just said
they don't
care.
care.
We won't sue you for that.
I think it's because they've weighed how if they're going to spend the money to try to prove damages on that, you know, on how much damage it's done to them.
But it is illegal. It's not cool.
It's really not cool. And we kept saying every season we're going to change it. And now it kind of is.
Yeah, it's kind of like what it is. We could just keep it and put on something else after. Braniff Airlines. Because we always wanted that. We always wanted Braniff Airlines.
We tried to actually buy the rights, but someone a lot.
Well, because it's a family. There's a Braniff family, and his last name is Braniff, so you can't really buy.
Oh, okay.
We tried to buy it.
We had like $2,000 in the contract.
We're going to buy Braniff Airlines. And I look back at we were looking at stock footage like old movies and airports, and Braniff was like United Airlines, no fucking huge thing. I don't know why they went bankrupt, but we have no right to try to buy that.
Chris Hart asks, do you ever take into consideration what some people may think and opinion about your TV series South Park? Because some adults may take it quite offensively. Not that I do, but many people think the humor is inappropriate and the language is very bad. What are your comments on this?
We sort of just realized it yesterday, and we feel really bad, so we're going to stop doing it.
Yeah, we just realized it. I mean, we don't really, you can't take into account what people are going to think, except for we do take into account, like, if I was watching this show, and you know what I mean, we come up from a point, like, story, we do think about that. Like, well, this
are
seems
people
kind
going
of
to understand this legal logic? Are people going to
right.
feel sorry for this person that we want them to feel sorry for, but never, like, who is this going to piss off?
Yeah.
Because there's an answer to that for everything.
Yeah, who cares?
Henrik Borgeson wants to know a bit about Monty Python and you. He asks, I was brought up with Monty Python. I can see, I think, that you have the same kind of humor. Have their show and humor been a great inspiration for you to do this show?
It's probably why sort of Matt and I got along with when we first met was we were both huge Python fans. Still to this day, our single favorite thing in the world. They're our god.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the most popular questions asked by the fans is in regards to Boyd's head, or more precisely the hair on top of it. We didn't see Cartman without his trademark blue hat until the middle of season 2. Kenny, we had to wait for Blue to see his hair and face. Inquiring minds want to know, are we ever going to see Kyle and Stan without their signature hats?
As a matter of fact,
this week, tune in. It's the Wednesday.
The one coming up.
Yeah, Wednesday. You're
Okay. It. You mean both of them, or?
Yeah.
Another popular question concerns the internet. There are quite a number of folks who would like to know if you guys visit fan sites online. If so, do any stand out? What do you generally think of them and your online fans?
Well, the worst is that deep cake. No, yeah, we do. The most well. It was a deep cake. Sometimes it was weird to see what.
It's just like with Timmy, you go around and you're like, you know what, people like really like Timmy. It's kind of like you do it for that, and you do it to be like, yeah, people are really digging this. And yeah, I mean, we did. I mean, on the one hand, we were so taken aback by the whole Terrence and Phillip debacle that for a while we were like, yeah, people are saying they just want to have Kenny die and Chef sing every episode, and that's what we got to give them. And we're like, no, fuck that. That's what a few people want, but that's not what everything. And as soon as we just started doing what a certain fan group said they wanted to see, then it wouldn't be our show anymore.
And the same people who were like, I love the fact that it's different, not everything else. But why the fuck didn't Chef sing this week?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's bullshit. It's like, fuck you, you know?
Well, where do you guys usually get the feedback from? Like, you know, is like
I get
something,
a lot
or
of
like,
I get a lot looking at fan sites and looking at what people are talking about. Definitely a lot.
or is it like somebody that comes up and
Friends.
like presents stuff? And say,
Well,
oh,
Comedy Central has a really good finger on it too. They're usually able to call us and go, "You guys, this comedian is huge," you know, or "You guys, this is people aren't liking this," you know. It's just they have a pretty good thing.
okay.
But again, we only listen to it sort of halfway
Uh-huh.
because
You
every
can't
week
change
we do what we want to do.
This is the last question. And finally, a little fun. Slim wants to know, why is Britney Spears so hot? Something quite a few of us wouldn't mind knowing the answer to either.
She's not. That's the
Yeah, I think this, like, we could just do 10 jokes. That's a good setup for a joke. Yeah. Because you're 15.
because you're 15 and she's not.
That's
That's the thing. Because
silicon.
that's the thing. You know, when you're 15, you don't realize how packaged and sold these people are, and you think when you see that airbrushed Britney on the cover of a magazine or that perfectly manicured Britney on a video that is who she is. But the thing is, I've been drunk waking up next to Britney before, and let me tell you, she's not a pretty sight.
They're all like that, man. I can name 5 or 6.
It is amazing.
5 or 6 of the star that you think are the hottest girls, you know, and you see them at a function, you're like, not like they're ugly dogs, but you would not pick them out of a lineup.
You would never, like, I remember the first time I met Madonna, I was like, ooh, she is so unattractive. And it was just because she was at a dinner party, and she was just, like, being her normal, like, wasn't really made up or anything, and she looked fucking old and ugly. And
I got saw Christine Aguilera coming out of it.
Really?
And it was like, ooh, who's that one?
Yeah, no, they really, it's amazing. I mean, you see these people and you hang out with them, and you're just like, wow, you are really made up and airbrushed in everything you do.
Every magazine cover, every single one with a good-looking girl on it is airbrushed as shit.
Yeah.
We did the one with the details with Denise Richards on it, and we got the comps before, you know, we got the original photographs. We had to do the artwork with the film and everything going around. Remember that one?
Film went around her body. And
Yeah, you open it up in the South Park Kids website.
Yeah.
We got the original before it was touched up. And Denise Richards is beautiful. I'm not saying, you know, she is, but she's also a woman and isn't made of skin and bones. And so they had, like, where the film went around, it was like there was just one roll of fat and all this stuff. But yeah, and she's hot. It was like she was hot, but she looked normal hot, like a normal chick without any clothes on, and her imperfections and moles and little mouth wrinkles and what I mean, the thing on the stand was like not just a little touch up or removing a mole or a zit. They erased an entire fold of fat. You know what I mean? So just tell them that she's not fucking hot. She's not. Britney Spears is not hot.
I'm saying that shit. I tell her she's an ugly thing every time.
She's a shit. She's a shit.
And she's a shitty leg. And she keeps coming back.
Brittany. You know you're not. I told you not to call me.
Yeah, that's all the questions.
Cool.
That is
Sorry it took so long.
Oh, it's alright.